Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead. I've glossed over that. And it's really one of the 4 or 5 most important things about the program. High performance people don't accept excuses. For anything. And current generation and the last couple of generations, maybe a generation and a half, they keep their word, so to speak, if it's convenient. Not if they're not in a coma or dead. You're going to have some meetings. One of you told me that you got here a day early. You know, I always, even when I was taking the bus across the United States, was a day early. What if the plane didn't get there? I've had meetings where if I was 5 seconds late, the guy didn't see me. 5 seconds. 1999, I was involved in a near fatal sporting accident. I was racing dune buggies, and this is on YouTube. And Easter Sunday, with my 2 sons in Cabo San Lucas. And many of the stories about third world country medicine are true. And anyway, I was almost dead, and so I told my oldest son at that time, whatever you do, don't let me pass out. So every time I started to pass out, he smacked me. And my younger son said, are you fucking crazy? I mean, he'll come back from the dead and kill us, which is me. And so they got me off to a hospital, and I had a collarbone that was like this. And so the doctors are looking at me. I still think I went to a veterinary hospital anyway. And they looking at me and they said, we think you have a broken clavicle. We think. It's like this and blood spurting out like this. And so conveniently, I had $700 cash and that was the bill, $700. Now, that was Easter Sunday. I had a meeting in Frankfurt, at the Frankfurt airport on the Wednesday with Klaus Kleinfeld, the head of McKinsey, Germany, the head of wasn't PwC then, it was just Price Waterhouse, Germany, and another senior guy, I forget who the third guy before, the other guy was. And so I go back to the suite we're staying in Cabo San Lucas, and I'm bleeding internally, blood. I'm only peeing blood. I'm even shitting blood. And I call the night manager. I'm trying to get my stuff out of the safe. The safe, nobody had a combination of the safe except the daytime manager. Make a long story short, I finally I remember the commercial about American Express, which they don't have anymore. That no matter where you are, you call American Express and, it could save your life. So somehow I got the 800 number for American Express and it wound up in Chicago, a guy named Garcia. I still remember his last name, surname. And I get him on the phone, and he spoke English about as good as a couple of you speak English in here, which means you don't. And so I'm trying to spit out in Spanish, and finally, after about 20 minutes, he said, oh yeah, this is before the black card, before the black American Express. Oh yeah, you've been with us, blah, blah, blah. And they got a doctor to me, and the doctor saved my life. So, the QLA seminar is not just a seminar. It is a blueprint for creating generational wealth as fast as humanly possible. I teach you how to turn nothing into millions, billions, and even trillions. If you want to take control of your life, to create a legacy that lasts for generations, the time is now. Do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is this moment. Be bold, be selfish, be ruthless, and take no prisoners. I will still do seminars, but I won't be able to do this forever. Act now or not at your own peril. Thank you very much. I charter a plane to go to Los Angeles, and then I charter a plane from Los Angeles to Frankfurt. And I'm going to make the meeting. I had all kinds of internal injuries. I'm all fucked up, almost dead. And Vinica wheels me into the lobby of the Frankfurt Hotel in a wheelchair with a drip. And I'm like this. And you know those blankets, those emergency blankets that are like silver color that they put over you when, Klaus, Dr. So-and-so, hair professor, doctor, the other one. Hair. What's wrong, Dan? Why are you here? What's wrong with you? I said I was going to be here, unless I was fucking dead. I'm not dead. To this day, Klaus uses that as they would say in Mississippi or insensitive when he doesn't feel like doing something. He uses that as a training tool when he's training allegedly high-priced managers. When I tell you I'm going to do something, short of my death, I'm going to do it. Same way, if I say I'm going to fuck you up, beyond all recognition, your mother won't be able to recognize the body parts. That's exactly what I mean. And that's exactly how the big hitters, big fucking hitters, as they would say in Japan, think and do and react. And it's the antithesis of the current population on this planet, except for a handful. When you take money, I don't mean take money like steal. When you get money from a bank, or you get money from a consortium, or you get money from a fund, and even though I don't get personal guarantees, they expect you to pay the fucking money back no matter what. And even though I'm teaching you how to do non-recourse, the real thing is if you do non-recourse and you're involved with big hitters and you fail to perform, you will never get a dime again the rest of your fucking life. So that's one theory Sally has why a lot of you don't go to the big hitters. Because you know if you fuck up and you fucked up all your life, you're never going to do another deal. I don't know if there's any truth in that. Maybe on a subconscious level there is. They will fuck you for practice. And there's a plethora of people that do $0 to $20 million deals. I mean, there's a jillion of them. But there's very few that do the kind of numbers, some of the numbers that you've already heard of today, or excuse me, this week. I mean, she wasn't in a coma. Her husband, he wasn't dead. And I've told you, I've had meetings. I've had Zoom call meetings with my mentees. Push, honey, push. In pregnancy. All those wives hate me. Or not wives, all those women, the mothers of those kids hate me to a one. Because their husband, their partner, whoever knocked them up, thought it was more important to perform something they told me they were going to do, as opposed to watch a little ugly fucking shithead kid come out of her, between her legs. Now, I'm not expecting you to be like that. But one of the reasons that you stay at the levels, this is 31 years of experience of connecting the dots, is there's a certain, just as the Goomba Brothers Sr. said yesterday, there's a certain je ne sais quoi that comes along with some of the big law firms, some of the big accounting firms. But there's also a je ne sais quoi, like a secret society of promises. It goes between the big hitters. You know, I'm going to perform unless I'm dead. And I know a couple of you have aspirations to be like Simon the Bell. That's great. You heard. You glossed over. Simon says, it's harder than Dan and I even described when you get out there. And it is harder. It is harder. And I have some people that, 13 years, and that happened to be a big deal by the time he finally did it, but he had 13 years invested. And it's really important to understand that. Now, even though I don't teach the course this way, this is the 7 steps, or these are the 7 steps, excuse me. And these are the 3 you're going to skip. So I want to write them down. Take a fucking picture of them. So you know. These are the steps I'll come back to in a minute. And this is where you're going to start. But those are the ones that you're not going to do. And you're going to wonder why you're not more successful in completing your goals. This is what we're going to talk about this afternoon after lunch. Most of you have already picked a subject matter or a industry and a vertical within that industry. Good. Some of you have picked it for the wrong reason. Just because Dan says so doesn't mean it's the right reason. You may not fall within that continuum of not everybody in life, but almost everybody in life. It's easier to do healthcare. Not everybody, but almost everybody. We had at least two of you that I've talked to so far in private time that it's not that healthcare makes you nervous, but you twitchy over it. You don't like whatever reason. I don't give a fuck. Doesn't make a difference. If you go into home health, then you're going to be wiping asses. When the third-year resident doesn't show up or the head nurse doesn't show up, you're going to get caca all over your fingers. Whatever the reason, because your vision's not really clarified. And I've told you, I've said for 31 years that my vision about what I wanted to aspire to was as clear as that painting long before I ever had that painting painted. And you guys, I say you guys, but generally speaking, don't. A couple of you all, have been banged up and you need some money. Well, everybody needs. Not everybody. That's not really true. Not everybody needs money. But just because you need money doesn't mean that the program is going to work for you. It's like I told the Chinese, you should have called me 15 years ago. A couple of you in this room, you should have been here 10 years ago. Not just because you were old enough to be here 10 years ago, but because you got so much negative wiring, it's hard to get rid of that negative wiring. And as the Goomba Senior said yesterday about building the perception, because for people that are cheap, the program is harder because it's hard for you to, well, I'm not suggesting you spend more money than you make, but it is a good idea. To get the accountants and the lawyers you can't afford, join the clubs you can't afford, yada, yada, yada. It's really tough. And as Marcus Bauer, who's had a skinny body standing right there, said, I'm a cheap farmer from the mountains. And it's hard for him to appear like a big hitter. It's hard. And now the clubs, they have junior memberships and all kinds of memberships. If you're under 50, under 40, under 30, I don't know of any under 60, but I know they have special deals where you can join the clubs because last 25, 30 years, club membership for those kind of exclusive clubs, they used to be men's clubs, they're not men's clubs anymore. Private clubs is way down. It's way down, but these are the ones, I decided, well, let's show them the ones they're not going to do. Let them write the fuck them down. But these are the ones I'd bet my left testicle on it. Because I've been doing this a long fucking time. And the guys that come here from doing deals before they get here, now some people say, you can't find this on the internet. That's bullshit. You can't. There are places that you can find the scripts on the internet if you've got a half a fucking brain. Some of you just came for the scripts. If you're really a quarter of a percent as slick as you think you are, you'd have the scripts already. Any questions on those first three? Yes, sir, in the back.
Can we quickly run through what each of them?
No. You can quickly jerk off. If you don't know what new rules, focus on the ends, not the means, something's not right with you. If you don't understand, clarify your vision. Nobody's got a clear vision in here. The only vision you got clear is you don't like where you are. That's it. Otherwise, you wouldn't fucking be here. It's either one little thing that you don't like or your whole life. In my judgment, almost everybody in here could have never been born and the world would have been a better place. Now, if I had all my nuns and priests and cardinals, they'd twist that around and, you haven't found your this, that. But the bottom line is, if you had not been conceived we would have been better off as a planet, as a Homo sapien, and depending on which individual ethnicity you are. But that doesn't mean day after tomorrow can't be the first day of the rest of your life. And if you remember the first webinar for the Viking bitch, she said she had a car and she's with another woman. They drove back and they're chatting. And so the other lady flapped her mouth and fell asleep. And the Viking bitch was working on her program. When Josh Kim came here many years ago, they took a train down. I don't know. They kind of go from train to plane to cab. Anyway, he took a train to London, and 4 or 5 or 6 of the guys from the seminar were on that same train. And he had to get up, and Josh had a upper class ticket, whatever the ticket where you have a nicer seat, whatever that. Okay, first class. Oh, fuck, VIP, fuck. And so he had to move to the lower class because these guys were just drinking and cavorting, and he was working. He was 17. He's working. He says he had to go down to the lower class, right near the toilet. And he says the toilet kept opening and making noise, and then I don't have to make this shit up. I mean, reality is stranger than fiction. And then, well, there's your first one. That's what you're going to start on. Some of you have already started. Wrongly. I was suggested by some really couple smart guys a long time ago in the 90s, you should teach a seminar in 2 parts. This is the first part, and this is the second part. And it'll give you an upsell, Dan. I didn't know what upsell meant in 1995. I didn't know what that fuck meant. It sounded something cheap, like, I don't know, when you get in with a hooker and, well, I can give you some extra shit, for an extra, I don't know, whatever. Now, EJ, I didn't have time to move them. Will you go to slide 1930? This is the shortcut to your short million. We took 3 superstars that are all up there. One did it in 1,200 calls, one did it in 1,500 calls, and one did it in 1,800 calls. Cold calls. Getting through to a seller, the actual principal. I know you're not going to do 1,500 calls, and I know you're not going to do 1,800 calls, and I know you're really not going to do 1,200 calls either. But the lowest end of that continuum is if you do 1,200 calls in 12 months, that's 100 cold calls a month. And I know you're not going to work 7 days a week, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt you're going to work 5 days a week. That's 5 motherfucking calls a day that you're not going to do. Verstehen? Pretty fucking simple, isn't it? I've had kids in the room. Well, you're all kids to me, but I mean, real kids, like teenagers. Mr. Peña, yeah, Johnny, you mean, is this a joke slide or is this? No, Johnny. And he looks around the room. You mean they're not going to do it? That's correct, Johnny. And then graduation night, and I tell the kids, don't talk to anybody. Don't talk, and then but you want to talk to them anyway. And so graduation night, I asked when we're in the room after dinner in the drawing room when you're asking me questions, I said, what do you think of the adults in here? And this particular time I'm describing, it was 3 kids, 13 and 2 17s. And they said 13 was the brother of one of the 70s. Well, what happened? And so the 2 older 70s said, well, we'll let Johnny tell you. It's hard to believe how they all lie to each other. They're all full of shit, Mr. Peña. I mean, even 13, I know they're all full of shit. And the more days that go by in the week, the bigger the lies. And then I look around the rest of the room. And then I was gonna, but I didn't. Now I'm sorry I didn't. Oh, who's the biggest bullshitter in the room? I didn't do that, though. Because you're all full of shit. And then the 17-year-old, the brother of the 13-year-old, said something to the effect, yeah, well, you kind of alluded to it, Mr. Peña, when you were saying, my cock's bigger than your cock, and that's, and the few that had made, a few bucks, made it sound like they should already be on the Hall of Fame. But that's it, 5 calls a day. 5 calls a day to greatness. It's almost impossible to think you can't do 5 calls a day. Okay, YouTube.